Ini gua Daniel, tetangga kamu. Di sini gua akan ngobrol dengan tetangga gua tentang perjalanan hidup mereka dari kacamata spiritual di saat mereka mengalami situasi tidak pasti dan kekhawatiran, sampai bisa kembali bangkit menjadi orang yang lebih kuat dari sebelumnya. It's gonna be very exclusive and inspiring.
3, 2, 1, action! Selamat datang ke Daniel tetangga kamu. Aku interview Daddy.
Yes! Kali ini
Ini special episode yang aku dan Mama dan Noam interview Daddy. Dan sekarang kita interview Daddy.
karena banyak banget ya yang nanya soal my own spiritual journey. Jadinya gue bingung siapa ya hostnya. Udahlah.
Aku!
Okay, so you guys are allowed to ask me anything.
Anything.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you
Okay,
don't even have to
why?
be
Wait.
Asian.
Why?
Why do you always poop in your pants?
No, you don't.
That's what kind of question is that?
You don't. He doesn't.
I don't put my
That's a total Noam question.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't poop in my pants.
Okay.
Not again. Not again.
Okay. Now here's the question.
Okay.
How was it like untuk kamu as a kid?
You poop in your pants.
Actually, ya, Dedi pernah poop in my pants. Waktu Dedi seumuran Noam sama Dedi seumuran Mila. Yeah,
Oh, even Mila's age.
even Mila's age. Like,
This is a question.
Wait, no,
I am
He's
answering
not
the
done.
question.
He's not done.
Wait,
He's
wait,
not
no,
done.
wait.
Okay.
This is an interview. You stay
Okay,
quiet when you're
you never
answering.
told me this.
really?
You never told me this story. I'm
No.
shocked. I have to hear it now on Daniel Tetangga Kamu.
Oh.
All the truth comes out.
jadi waktu Dedi kelas 3 SD, I think. 3 SD, can you believe it? Dedi kelas 3 SD, year 3, Dedi latihan taekwondo.
And then you,
Oh.
so it was like this.
Exactly, and yeah.
Oh, in Taekwondo pants, it's not really nice.
In taekwondo pants,
No.
when itu putih gitu. Jadi, you know what? I don't even know. Kayak orang pengen dengerin jawaban ini. So, actually,
But
my
just how was it like to be a kid? You didn't have to answer Noam's question.
I yeah, okay. So basically, you know, Opawi, yeah,
He's the best.
Your dad?
my dad, right?
He lets us watch on Simple Saturday.
Yeah,
But he's also the best grandpa.
yeah.
And Okay, I forgot what I said.
It's okay, you know.
Secret.
Ya udah,
Now
it
just
happens
sit
to
down.
me too.
He's-
Sit down.
he's
Let's listen
answering.
to what Daddy is
Hey.
going to say to this question.
Yeah.
He's
He's
mad
happy.
at you.
Oh, come on. Just
Okay. So, jadi Dedi grow up itu di Pluit, ya, this area. Dan abis itu Opa Awi itu sebenarnya punya 6 saudara, 7 siblings, ya. Dan abis itu semuanya itu Opa Awi kan dari Lampung. That's my dad. Ketika dia pindah dari Lampung ke Jakarta, dia mulai ngajak saudara-saudaranya untuk the 7 siblings untuk datang juga ke Jakarta and do business di Jakarta. Bisnisnya itu kebanyakan berdagang, jadi pengusaha, jadi businessman di Mangga 2, right? Nah, my uncle, abis itu my cousin, itu kalau misalnya mereka udah selesai sekolah, mereka punya bisnis di Mangga 2. So, Dedi sebenarnya nih arahnya udah jelas banget ke Mangga 2 untuk bisnis di Mangga 2. Karena
kamu gak mau.
Dedi sebenarnya akhirnya begitu udah selesai kuliah, udah selesai sekolah, and then Dedi udah dibukain toko juga sama Opa Awi.
Kamu gak mau tokonya.
Exactly, karena selama 6 bulan Dedi coba kerja di Mangga 2, ternyata I don't know, like
It's not your flow.
yeah, it's not my flow. I like that. Kayak Dedi tuh benar-benar kayak ngerasa, bosen ya, you know.
You're really bored.
Like I'm not made for this, you know.
You're going in the wrong direction. The path
Exactly.
you're going is a block.
Ya, dan akhirnya Dedi ngerasa kayak, you know, it's
You
not
can't.
healthy, capek banget, dan sampai ada casting untuk MTV karena mereka lagi nyari VJ gitu. Nah akhirnya ketika itu Dedi ikutan, itu tahun 2003, dan Dedi pikir ya udahlah, you know, Dedi bilang sama Opawi, can I be on this VJ thing untuk MTV
Did
gitu.
he say yes?
And he said yes. Dan to be honest ya, ini Opawi hebat banget karena for a Chinese father
You would
untuk
say no.
exactly untuk ngasih anaknya bereksperimentasi di dunia entertainment, it's very rare, jarang banget. Karena banyak banget Chinese father itu pengennya, oke, gue udah punya bisnis,
Stubborn.
udah punya keras kepala juga kan, udah punya bisnis, udah pengen jelas banget anak saya harus masuknya ke bisnis saya juga. Harus, wajib, it's a must.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah, well,
The kid doesn't get to think what else can I do?
exactly, the kids itu nggak punya kebebasan untuk milih jalan hidupnya mereka. Tapi Opa Awi ngasih Dedi.
He let you go free.
Exactly.
From these chains.
So progressive. your
Yes.
dad.
Ya, jadi kalau misalnya bukan karena Opa Awi, I think Dedi nggak akan pernah jadi public figure, jadi MTV VJ atau bahkan host Indonesian Idol kayak gitu.
Or Daniel tetangga kamu.
Atau Daniel tetangga kamu.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have got that far. You would just be at the stall
Hmm,
selling stuff.
exactly. You know, actually,
You'd be like,
Yeah, that's actually exactly the posture how I would sit.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's a really good impression.
Counting money.
The funny thing is, Dedi sendiri juga baru tahu kalau misalnya Dedi punya passion in public speaking. Tahu nggak kelas berapa? Your age, 4th grade. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
so you're like,
What happened in 4th grade?
Oke, so Dedi ke gereja saat itu kan. Pas ke gereja, itu kebetulan pasturnya atau romonya itu benar-benar punya skill communication yang bagus banget. Dia lucu banget, dia benar-benar bisa bikin semua orang ketawa, dia bisa bikin kalau misalnya dia lagi ceritain cerita sedih, dia bisa bikin orang-orang jadi berasa sedih juga. Jadi abis itu, Dedi akhirnya kayak terinspirasi banget because of this Romo sama si pasturnya ini gitu. Karena di gereja tersebut tuh kira-kira mungkin ada, I don't know, 500-600 orang di gereja Stella Maris, ingat banget. Dan cara dia ngomong, ketika dia ngomong itu bikin semua orang ketawa. Ketika dia ceritain cerita yang cukup mengharukan, sedih, itu orang-orang benar-benar ngedengerin banget. Kok bisa ya, satu orang bisa ngontrol emosi dari ratusan orang di gereja. And di situ sih, Dedi ngerasa, Oma Ana,
this is my
exactly.
line.
Yeah, thank you Noam. I know my life story is so interesting and you love it. Thank
It's like
you.
a bedtime story.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oma Ana itu kebetulan lagi sama Dedi di sebelah Dedi kan. Dan habis itu pas Dedi tahu passion Dedi bilang sama Oma Ana,
this is my line.
Mami,
No.
Dedi, I call myself Denny, right? That's my child name. Denny udah tahu gede mau jadi apa. Denny mau jadi pastor.
You said pastor?
I know. But what I wanted was to become a public speaker gitu. Maksudnya maunya jadi kayak public speaker dan
But you said pastor.
tapi tahu aja cuman I was like a 4th grade gitu. Mau jadi pastor gitu. Dan Oma Ana yang kayak oh ya oke Tapi I think today Daddy ngerti kalau misalnya ternyata yang Daddy passionate banget tuh bukan pastornya, tapi lebih ke public speakingnya gitu, communication a message. I know. Ya, gila. Ini nih kalau saya bukan karena dari tetangga kamu nih, kayak gue gak akan pernah cerita sama anak-anak gue soal ini gitu. So, terima kasih udah diundang ke sini ya.
But actually,
Yeah, you're welcome. How do you like the set?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
but actually this
Ini mikrofon.
it's actually this is actually very very interesting.
Okay. Okay, less evil face.
Okay, do we have
Okay, Noam.
anything else? Noam, what is it that you want to know from Daddy?
Yeah.
I think he's gonna say another disgusting one.
Yeah, most probably about poop stuff again.
No.
Okay.
About
Oh, ini ikutan.
Why do you like being interviewed?
Why do I like being interviewed? Wow, hey Noam, itu pertanyaan bagus banget. Jadi, Daddy sebenarnya suka banget interviewing someone, ya kan? Daddy suka banget wawancara orang. Tapi kalau misalnya I am being interviewed, I think itu adalah kesempatan Daddy to preach God's message. You
so
know,
you are being a prophet.
because
You are a pastor.
oh my God,
Dun, dun.
mind blown. Yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
I know.
Let me try to say
What is that?
roll my R's.
Oh, okay.
I'll do this really fast.
Oke.
Okay.
Jadi ya itu sih karena Daddy ngerasa gitu ya kalau misalnya selama ini by the grace of God ya kayak Daddy itu benar-benar ngerasa Tuhan tuh baik banget sama Daddy untuk ngasih mama, untuk ngasih kalian juga as my family. Tapi along the journey I can feel Daddy bisa ngerasain banget kalau misalnya Daddy gak mungkin ada di sini sekarang kalau misalnya bukan karena Tuhan gitu. Nah jadi untuk itu sih Daddy kayak pengen banget orang-orang, lebih banyak orang lagi yang bisa ngerasain apa yang Daddy rasain. Dan itu dia kayak mungkin value-value, nilai-nilai yang Daddy pelajarin selama ini. Itu mungkin bisa Daddy share juga. Nah itu dia kenapa Daddy suka banget kalau misalnya di interview. It's an opportunity, itu kesempatan buat Daddy supaya ngomongin soal kebaikan Tuhan. Dimanapun ya, di majalah, di podcast, atau di TV, atau dimanapun I can talk about that gitu. Thank you for that question Noam.
How many what were the encounters with God that were special to you?
Nobody knows.
Now, Daddy inget banget waktu Daddy mungkin seumuran Noam ya, atau mungkin bahkan lebih kecil lagi, like smaller than Noam. Daddy pernah nyari Oma Ana, my mom, di big swimming pool, right? Dan habis itu Daddy kayak lagi nyari, and then Oma Ana mana, dan Daddy masih belum bisa berenang saat itu. Dan habis itu Daddy ngeliat kayak mana ya, where's my mom? Akhirnya Daddy nyemplung ke big swimming pool tanpa Daddy bisa berenang. Itu Daddy inget banget kayak tenggelam, like, and then I was gasping for breath. Dan gak tau kenapa ketika Daddy udah benar-benar kayak gak bisa nafas lagi, tiba-tiba ada I don't know, like 2 women atau 2 ladies gitu lagi berenang quite intense, sehingga ripple-nya dari air itu, ombaknya, atau ini padahal di swimming pool gitu ya, ininya ngebawa Daddy sampai ke pinggiran kolam renang, so Daddy can hold to the side. I was like kayak gitu, Dan setelah Daddy ngeliat kiri kanan, I don't see them anymore. The two women. Itu Daddy ngerasa itu kayak banyak banget yang Daddy gak sadar the fingerprints of God gitu. Atau mungkin campur tangan Tuhan dalam hidup Daddy gitu. Sampai hari ini Daddy sendiri masih bisa hidup, sehat. Dan Daddy bersyukur banget about that gitu. Thank you for that question, Noam. Do you want to ask me anything? That was like such a brilliant question. Can I have Noam to ask me a question lagi?
So, this is my question.
Oh, okay.
Why does Daddy love making Legos with
Oh.
us?
With you guys.
Because
Aw.
have them as a kid.
Soalnya waktu kecil Daddy gak pernah dibeliin Lego. Pernah dibeliin Lego tapi gak banyak gitu kan. Cuman kayaknya sekarang nih kita kan sering main Lego sejak zaman pandemi, right? Dan I think sekarang ini kita setiap kali kita main Lego gitu ya, setiap kali main Lego sama Noam, sama Mila, itu Daddy di situ bisa ngobrol sama kalian. Daddy bisa kayak, you know, kita punya teamwork. It's like us, kita bertiga, we build something together gitu.
We're building Minecraft.
No, not Minecraft, Lego.
Okay, we build Minecraft. You said that.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No.
You say we're gonna die in the volcano then.
Huh? No, I never say that. I would never say that.
You would say that.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, you said yes.
Huh? What? Why?
You totally said yes.
Is it no means yes, yes means no?
Yes.
Oh, so that means your name is Yesam.
And that means your name is Dano.
Dano. Okay.
Wait. Is yes and no is yes. So it's
Yes, yes.
yes.
All
Hello,
right.
yes. That means your name is no meal.
No.
Because
That means yes meal. Yes meal.
no.
Your name is yes meal then. Because it's really unfair that you call me that. So that
So I'm
means
not
your
calling.
name is.
I'm not calling you that anymore.
That means.
Kids?
Daddy,
Do the thing, Dad. No, do the thing.
I
From
think
Paw
they get
Patrol
too
movie?
comfortable in front of the
Okay.
camera.
I think so. Remember kids, what we talk about? No fighting on cameras. Okay? Kita harus terlihat sebagai keluarga harmonis di
Yeah.
depan kamera.
You know there. Why are you saying it in Indonesian? Then?
Yeah.
It's our audience, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but you're saying not to fight in Indonesian.
Yeah.
So you're adding that to that.
I know. Anyway. Okay, so Noam, I need you to ask me one question.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. So this is the question. So why did you make Simple Saturday and Electric Sunday? Why did you make those?
Okay.
Those rules.
Ya. Itu Noam nanyanya dari hati banget kayaknya ya. Oke. Buat yang lagi nonton, kita punya aturan yang namanya Simple Saturday sama Electric Sunday. Simple Saturday adalah dimana anak-anak, gue, Viola tidak menggunakan yang namanya elektronik. Kita nggak nonton TV, kita nggak nonton tablet, kita nggak main handphone, kita benar-benar tidak melakukan aktivitas yang sifatnya elektronik. Ya tapi kita masih bisa nyetir kemana gitu. Naik mobil.
We can still call people.
Kita masih bisa nyalain AC ya, you know. Dan gue sendiri juga ada handphone yang mungkin kalau misalnya emergency banget itu bisa ditelepon di situ.
Or music.
Atau kita bisa nyalain musik juga. Tapi intinya di situ kita benar-benar simple Saturday banget, tidak menggunakan nggak nonton dan lain-lain.
What about the Electric Sunday one?
Ya, well, let me tell you tentang Simple Saturday dulu, right? Simple Saturday itu akhirnya ketika kita pertama kali ngelakuin itu benar-benar nggak enak banget. Oh my goodness. Negosiasinya, woo.
I have to watch right now and Simple Saturday. Right now, Daddy.
No, Noam, cannot.
It's Sunday.
No. He's acting as if like he wants.
Okay, you said I can watch then.
No, I never said. Oke, jadi akhirnya kita berantem mulu gitu, kita debate terus gitu kan. Akhirnya itu dia kenapa gue mulai beliin Lego supaya kita sendiri di situ bisa main, nge-build something, ngobrol. Dan Noam sendiri itu tiba-tiba, you remember ketika Noam bikin this trail, you know, kayak misalnya ada,
Oh yeah.
ya kan, ada pakai
There was
bantal, and then different classes. Remember?
There was like a yoga space or meditation.
Meditation class and then flying class.
I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
It's not for the shoot. It's like, it's just for telling something.
Yeah, okay.
So, do you know Kakarev? You remember him?
Yeah, I know. Of course I remember Kakarev.
We were making a train track, but it was really long.
Uh-huh.
So we used the train track and some pillows.
Uh-huh.
And then we connect the pillows all the way to the TV room. So it could be a long train track all the way to the TV room.
To
Wow.
the entire apartment.
That's so much fun. Nah itu dia maksudnya tuh pas lagi Simple Saturday. Kalau misalnya kita secara keluarga pas lagi hari Sabtu cuma nonton aja kerjanya. Atau kita benar-benar fokus sama kerjaan. Atau mungkin ngecek handphone aja. Atau mungkin bahkan I don't know ya, maksudnya kayak aktivitasnya itu nggak apa ya, ya di rumah aja, misalnya benar-benar cuma bisa di rumah aja, itu kita mulai bisa berimajinasi sih. Dan gue benar-benar jadi ikutan berimajinasi sama Noam juga. Noam tiba-tiba bikin sebuah sekolah, ada kelas untuk terbang, kita terbang, ada kelas untuk meditasi. Noam, can you tell like kalau misalnya kelas meditasi gurunya seperti apa?
What does that mean?
The yoga class.
The yoga class, the meditation class. What is the teacher? What is the teacher? How does the teacher talk? Oh, ini
I
deploy.
don't even do meditation.
No?
No, but you did a yoga school once. I remember this was the yoga room.
Yeah. You forgot that.
You
Yeah.
forgot it?
Okay.
How old was I?
4?
2 years ago?
4.
Yeah.
4. Oh, and remember we with
should
the
talk
Lego
about
box, with the old Lego box.
Oh yeah.
We
kept
made
on playing TV.
it was like the big Lego box, right?
Yeah.
The
TV.
and then you cut out this like the front and you made a TV out of it and the bottom. So I remember you both could fit in like you are a TV host and
Yeah.
then you were having a TV show in the Lego Lego box.
Ya, jadi kita berimajinasi banget dan akhirnya kita mulai ngebuat hal-hal yang jarang banget kita lakuin dan cuman hari Sabtu itu kita lakuin. Jujur sebagai orang tua capek banget, asli capek banget ya ngikutin mereka.
Right now, 'cause
I-
I want to go outside.
Ya, bentar lagi, almost done.
And
I want to eat chocolate.
Bentar lagi.
I want to eat chocolate. I want to play Minecraft. I want to play Roblox. And I'm so tired. And then I want to start doing this interview. I want to eat candy.
Ya, emang interview nggak gampang sih.
Yeah.
Just letting you know. Apalagi kalau
How
misalnya,
hard Daddy's job is.
apalagi kalau misalnya mereka nggak gue bayar.
Definitely hard.
Ya, ya.
So hard.
Okay.
You just need to sit around and do nothing
Oke.
and just talk.
Anyway, I haven't finished talking about Simple Saturday, guys.
Oh yeah.
Oke.
Yeah.
Nah,
I kind of want to skip that part.
jadi akhirnya setelah kita capek juga, malamnya gue sebagai orang tua yang nemenin 100% anak gue mau ngapain, itu tidurnya enak banget sih. Nyenyak banget kita tidur, capek banget soalnya. Kita kadang-kadang juga bisa ke taman kita, karena kita tinggal di apartemen, kita ke taman, kita main bola, main basket, atau main sepeda, dan lain-lain. Pokoknya intinya Simple Saturday, gak ada elektronik, kita benar-benar fokus banget untuk membangun hubungan bersama anak-anak dan Viola juga gitu. Dan sering banget, gue malah setiap Sabtu itu sering banget tidur siang jadinya. Hari Minggu, Electronic Sunday, mereka boleh nonton selama 6 jam.
Not just nonton, like play games.
Iya, nonton, play games dan lain-lain
With
gitu ya.
breaks in between.
Iya, pakai break
yeah.
juga.
But actually, they never really reached 6 hours.
Yes, I did. I actually reached 7 hours
7
once.
once.
Was an
Wow.
accident.
Did you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning while I was still sleeping, so I couldn't count that hour? Smart.
Oh,
Da, da, da. Da, da, da.
okay. All right.
Why are you singing?
I think you're
Why is
about
it
to
not
blow up now.
stopping? Why is it not stopping?
Okay, so yeah, I think guys, you can go first.
Finally.
No. Ini Noam dulu. I need Mila to still be here.
What? No!
Okay.
No, he's still here.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding.
Ya, satu udah gugur. I know.
Yeah. He already disappeared
Yeah,
because he was so bored.
my life story. Yeah, I know. My life story is so interesting that he had to leave.
No, that it disappeared into smoke because his brain exploded with so
Yeah.
much interest.
Okay.
Okay, so why do you like running? Now let me just explode myself too.
No, you gotta listen to my answer first before you explode.
It's gonna be so long.
No, it's not gonna be so long. Okay, tell me, why do you think I like running?
I think you like running because God gave you the power of running and you enjoy it. Done.
Hey,
I'm out of the sea.
come back here. No, we're not done. So I gotta tell you something. Jadi,
You have to tell me.
What do
or
you think would be an interesting fact for Mila to know
Yeah,
about
yeah.
why you love running?
Yeah, but do you have to tell me, or do you have to tell someone you can just tell it to?
who will always smile no matter how long I tell them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Daddy, I really always wanted to ask you this question and I can't wait to hear the answer. Why do you like running so much?
Wait. Actually, I'm getting bored.
even Chumi is getting bored. Oh gosh.
I'll just smile just so you're happy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Dedi jadi sempat baca artikel kenapa kebanyakan orang-orang sukses kayak CEO atau pemimpin perusahaan yang sukses dalam hidupnya, mereka lari maraton. And itu Dedi bacanya tahun 2016. And then Dedi thought, kenapa nggak coba lari maraton? Ya udah deh, cobain aja. So, no. So, ternyata pas lagi maraton itu, prosesnya is so hard gitu. Bener-bener kayak susah banget, Mila. Susah banget.
Definitely to not yawn of
No,
boredom.
please. No, I need to focus on this.
Sorry.
Sorry. Jadi prosesnya itu susah banget. Jadi ternyata nggak bisa tuh kalau misalnya kita mau lari maraton, ya udah minggu depan lari maraton gitu. It's impossible. Nah, jadi akhirnya what Daddy did, latihan tiap hari untuk bisa maraton ini, untuk bisa nyelesain 42 km lari. Dan ternyata emang bener, ada kedisiplinan, self control, ada hal-hal yang Dedi pelajarin banget melalui maraton, dan yang Dedi paling suka itu actually ketika Dedi lari maraton, Dedi ngedengerinnya podcast tapi about preaching, kayak khotbah gitu.
So it's like when you're running, it's like your time with God.
Ya,
basically.
ketika Dedi lagi lari, ya itu kayak waktu Dedi berduaan sama Tuhan gitu. Nah, akhirnya Dedi sendiri juga seneng banget sih karena sekarang ini Dedi udah mungkin maraton udah 5 kali. Udah 6 kali actually, 6 kali. Dan nanti di akhir tahun Dedi bakal maraton lagi ke-7 kali di Chicago.
Chicago.
Ya, dan
Chicago.
ya. Tapi Mila gak ikut ya?
I will come along.
Mama
but
bakal ikut.
I want to add something to that.
Oh, pakai ini.
Okay, then I can go.
Oke.
Okay.
Mila, bentar. Mila pergi dulu deh gak
So
apa-apa.
I can go?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enggak
You don't
perlu.
have to hold it when you talk.
Iya.
Okay.
Ya, 2 gugur. Viola, please jangan tinggalin aku sayang.
Oh, don't worry. I'll be here.
Oh,
I love listening to you.
Oh my God, gue ngerasa kayak interview. Setiap kali gue ngomong, anak-anak kayak, please, tetangga-tetangga gue, kalian gak boring kan? Well, anyway, still about running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually, I love that you're running. You know why?
Why?
Every time you come back from running, or not every time, but really often you come back from running and you tell me, oh my God, I just realized something.
Yeah.
Or I feel like God put something in my heart, or I feel like
Yeah.
God spoke to me, or I learned something new because you're listening to stuff and you're thinking, you're processing, and that's just, I feel like while you're working on your physical, you're also working on your emotional, mental, and spiritual at the same time, and it's pretty amazing actually. It's like, I love that about you. So I always
you.
love it when you go run.
Ya, dan maksudnya ini malah makin apa ya? Kayak I love my family, right? Sayang banget sama keluarga gue dan sayangnya ketika jam 6 pagi, ketika anak-anak udah bangun, abis itu Viola udah bangun, aku ngerasa kalau misalnya waktu aku itu udah bukan buat diri aku sendiri.
Mm-hmm.
My time itu udah otomatis buat anak-anak, me as a father, sama buat Viola juga gitu, me as a husband. Jadi akhirnya gue ngerasa waktu buat gue sendirian untuk gue investasi untuk diri gue sendiri itu hanya bisa jam 4 pagi sampai jam 6 pagi. That's why tiap pagi I wake up at 4 untuk lari dan bener-bener ngelakuin two birds with one stone lah ya. Jadi ngelakuin 2 hal pada saat yang bersamaan. Yang pertama untuk kesehatan tubuh yaitu dengan lari. Yang kedua pas lagi lari dengerin khotbah gitu.
Mm-hmm.
Sehingga secara mental itu juga punya waktu dengan Tuhan juga. Dan sering banget lah kalau misalnya lari apalagi jarak jauh gitu kita kayak udah mulai bengong mikirin tentang hidup and then evaluasi hidup.
Mm-hmm.
Dan itu sih yang benar-benar bikin jadi malah nyandu banget lari gitu.
Yeah.
Dan jujur sih kayak gue bersyukur banget sekarang ini juga tergabung dalam Born to Sweat namanya untuk sama Pocari Sweat gitu kan. Jadi di Pocari Sweat sendiri kan udah ada sport science-nya dan lain-lain sehingga sekarang ini itu ngomongin soal injury atau misalnya ada cedera atau gimana cara ngurusin makan atau minum, lari dengan teknik yang benar, itu semuanya udah dijagain banget gitu. Makanya kayak I think untuk 2 tahun terakhir ini kalau misalnya gak ada Pocari, I'm not sure I can do all these marathons secara disiplin gitu.
I mean, not just that, there are also these people who wake up for you and run along with you.
Yeah.
And then when you have like a run in Bandung, oh my God, like they all come and, they come along and they run with you and like, wow, you have a team that, and then there's always like someone cycling with you that hands you out cold Pocari, like while you're running. Who has that?
Yeah.
It's like such a luxury. I mean, you're really quite a spoiled runner, I would say.
Manja, pelari manja.
Yeah, it's like, I'm thirsty. And like,
Gak gitu
they pour
juga.
you a cold Pocari while you're like, you keep running.
Lapar. Disuapin. Gak gitu juga kali. Gak, tapi beneran. Tapi itu ya, maksudnya kayak Tuhan tahu banget karakter aku itu seperti apa,
Mhm.
sampai hal detail seperti itu diperhatiin banget gitu.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that is beautiful. And I think bener kata Viola, kayak ada orang-orang yang jam 4.30, jam 4 pagi bahkan, misalnya dia tinggalnya di Bekasi, dia tinggalnya di Tangerang, dia tinggalnya di mana-mana gitu ya. Tapi tetap jam 5 pagi kita di GBK, kita latihan lari. Buat apa? Buat gue, supaya gue bisa mencapai target finish gue gitu di maraton gitu. Dan itu kayak wow, gue benar-benar sampai ngerasa wah gue harus bisa banget nih kayak jadi progress gitu ya. Lebih bagus lagi,
Yeah.
lebih baik lagi, lebih baik lagi.
And I still remember, like, it was just recently, you know, when you found out that you cannot go to Tokyo Marathon again after
Dua
3
yeah.
years, like the third year now, again, it was canceled because of, not canceled, but you couldn't
Karena
get a visa.
nggak bisa
There was
masuk
no
ke
entry
Jepang.
because of COVID still.
Yeah.
And you were so down and you were like, oh man, like, I mean, it was such a bummer for you and you lost your motivation, right? But then they said, hey, Daniel, we're still going to do a run for you in Bandung.
Yeah.
Like they set up an entire run for you, like a whole marathon with everything that you need for a marathon. Like they would
Ada
even,
balon-balonnya.
yeah, like start, finish, you know, like, and you would run through like the blue van, you
Yeah.
know, and you're like, oh, and then it's on camera and there are people cheering for you. And
Yeah.
it's like amazing. And then I remember you were still down, but then you remembered all these people that were supporting you from the team, you know, and how they would wake up for you every morning.
Yeah.
And then it changed your mindset and you're like, no, I'm running for them. I'm doing this for them because they've supported me. I will do it for them. And then you had like, you ran your best time
3 jam
in
50 menit.
in that
yeah.
marathon, even though in between you had like this really low time where you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I following a strict diet?
Yeah.
Training so hard every day. But then you found your motivation through them, and that was really beautiful. So
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Itu malah nambah ekstra energi banget sih pas
Yeah.
lagi udah kecapean dan kayak pengen nyerah. I think itu ya, lari untuk orang lain gitu, misalnya lari untuk sebuah cause, sebuah movement, lari untuk ada a bigger purpose daripada cuman lari biar kelihatan kurus atau cuma untuk sosial media gitu misalnya. Jadi itu kayak I think itu nambah energi banget. Dan you know what Viola, I really feel blessed. And dan juga sama Pokari sendiri juga kayak tadi ya, aku juga bilang gitu bahwa Tuhan tuh benar-benar sayang banget sama Daniel sampai dia tahu banget gimana caranya bikin aku progress terus dan
Yeah.
terus gitu. And because of that, you know me, like aku percaya banget blessed to become a blessing. Jadi untuk itu aku pengen bikin sebuah acara juga, playlist juga tentang lari gitu, you know, untuk ngeinspirasiin semua tetangga-tetangga atau mungkin semua yang lagi nonton, gimana gue akan interview public figure juga, dan gue pengen kita interviewnya sambil lari juga gitu, supaya bikin kalian atau orang yang nonton tuh pengen ikutan bergerak juga dan ikutan lari. Nama acaranya Sweat and Chat. Sambil berkeringat, sambil ngobrol ya kan. Jadi I hope you guys gonna like ini playlist terbaru di Daniel Mananta Network. Jadinya hopefully it works.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that show.
Episode
I think it's
pilotnya,
awesome.
Kita akan mengundang Cinta Laura.
Yes,
Sahabatnya
my
Viola
friend.
banget. Exactly.
I love you, Cinta.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining his show and doing that. Yeah. She's awesome. You know her, right? So you all have to listen to it because she has the most wonderful things to say. And I really think she's amazing.
Yeah.
You should listen to that one. Yeah. Anyway, I
Anyway.
want to actually go much further back because when I met you, you were not the person that's sitting here on the sofa right now. And I'm still wondering how I could ever fall in love with you. But then I remembered I was not the person that I am today. So I think we both started off at a very different point in our life and in our maturity. And we were both really shallow people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were. We were superficial. We were having really weird priorities. I think we were really not amazing people.
Yeah.
But for some reason,
Yeah.
we found each other.
God put us together.
Yeah, I mean, you were not running back then. You weren't fit like you are now. So physically, you were not where you are now, and definitely spiritually, you are not.
Far.
Yeah, you have matured so much, and I just want to ask you to share what happened that you actually began changing, and you started growing and becoming
Yeah.
the Daniel you are today. What happened?
Where should I start ya? Kayaknya waktu ketemu sama Viola, itu mental aku masih superficial banget. It's all about fame, ketenaran. Gue masih sangat takut kalau misalnya gue jadi tua dan nanti akhirnya tergantikan dengan host yang lebih baru. Gue sering banget anxiety attack, anxious kalau misalnya bangun tengah malam tiba-tiba kebangun gitu, yang kayak ada banyak serangan atau intimidasi di otak gue yang bilang bahwa nanti nih lu semakin tua nih, udah kepala 3 nih bentar lagi nih gitu misalnya. Nanti kalau misalnya ada host yang lebih bagus dari lu gimana, yang lebih muda dari gimana dan lain-lain gitu. Jadi selalu berusaha banget untuk nyari kontroversi, pengen banget kayak, pelariannya saat itu adalah clubbing, pelariannya adalah minum-minum. Kayaknya kalau misalnya gue clubbing.
That's where we met, by the way.
Kita ketemu di klub, yes.
Yes.
Kayaknya kalau misalnya gue lagi clubbing sama minum-minum gitu, gue ngerasa sah-sah aja ngelakuin hal-hal bodoh yang kontroversial, you know. Supaya apa? Ya siapa tahu ya diomongin orang. Dulu gue punya moto, lebih baik diomongin sama orang daripada gak diomongin sama sekali. Gak peduli ngomonginnya jelek atau bagus, yang penting gue terus diomongin sama orang. Itu moto yang benar-benar kayak insecure banget sih. Itu parah banget. Nah, dan akhirnya ketemu sama Viola. I think at that time pun juga sebenarnya gue lumayan kurang ini ya. Pas lagi sama Viola pun juga masih gak serius juga actually. Kayak sama bule nih, you know, like pacaran sama bule and everything. It's very shallow, dangkal banget gue pemikirannya.
Yeah. Yes, he was very shallow.
Jadi dangkal banget, dan cara aku ngelihat hidup itu penuh dengan ketakutan, penuh dengan kekhawatiran. I don't know, mungkin karena orang tua juga, khususnya my mom itu mungkin dia dibesarkan pun juga penuh dengan kayak ketakutan. Nanti kalau kayak gini gimana? Nanti kalau kayak gitu gimana? Nanti kalau misalnya itu gimana? What if gitu kan. Jadi penuh dengan ketakutan, sehingga ketika aku gede pun aku juga pemikirannya, default thinkingnya, refleksnya takut.
Yeah.
Tuhan pun itu Tuhan yang menakutkan buat aku. Jadi kalau ke gereja aja itu benar-benar, waduh gak ke gereja takut neraka. Waduh makanan gak habis, nanti Tuhan akan ngehukum dosa, masuk neraka. You know, like benar-benar full of fear gitu. Dan itu hidup seperti itu benar-benar ya nggak enak banget sih. Kayak jadi narapidana, jadi prisoner gitu, dimana penuh dengan ketakutan. Akhirnya apa yang aku takutin itu terjadi, yaitu tahun 2012 ketika udah nikah sama Viola, punya Mila juga. Mila baru aja lahir saat itu, I think gak nyampe umur 1 tahun. Dan aku mungkin Viola ingat juga gitu ya, aku nge-MC itu lumayan sering banget, dan itu teriak-teriak mulu. Udah teriak abis itu tidurnya kurang karena apa? Karena setelah acara langsung ke clubbing, abis itu minum alkohol gitu, yang vocal chordnya pita suaranya udah mulai luka gitu ya, malah kena alkohol. Dan ini zaman kapan? Ini zaman pas Mila baru awal-awal lahir gitu. Jadi kayak gak tahu ya, ini pemikiran yang sangat bodoh banget. Aku pengen banget kayak, jadi seorang ayah, gue pengen jadi ayah yang cool, ayah yang masih clubbing, ayah yang masih party gitu, you know. It's so silly gitu ya, that image of cool saat itu. Dan akhirnya ya terjadi juga pita suara ada masalah, ada tumor jinak atau nodul, sehingga akhirnya nggak bisa ngomong. Dan ngomongnya itu jadinya seperti ini aja, kayak gitu. Dan di situ bukan cuman aku kehilangan suara aku, tapi aku ternyata kehilangan identitas aku juga sebagai seorang presenter yang dikenal, sebagai seorang public figure. Dan itu bahaya banget karena ternyata saat itu aku mengkaitkan jati diri aku, identitas aku dengan kerjaan aku. Padahal kerjaan itu kan sifatnya sementara. Tapi aku malah benar-benar mengkaitkan jati diri aku banget sama kerjaan aku. Siapakah Daniel Mananta? Ya, Daniel adalah presenter terkenal. Tapi ketika suaranya udah gak ada, suaranya tiba-tiba hilang karena sebuah penyakit, Daniel Mananta siapa dong? Kalau bukan seorang presenter terkenal. Dan di situ mungkin Viola ingat I hit my depression. Jadi ada saat-saat depresi juga. Nih di apartemen ini juga nih. Di apartemen ini kita saat itu masih di sini tinggalnya. Dan di situ udah nyobain semuanya banget. Yes, udah ke dokter juga, udah dioperasi juga. Dokter bilang sebulan lagi suaranya bakal balik, tapi ternyata suaranya nggak balik-balik. Dan akhirnya sampai Sandra Dewi kan yang saat itu bilang, Nil coba deh ke Pak Benyamin Ratu gitu. Dia seorang evangelist gitu di gereja Katolik karismatik. Dan akhirnya aku pergi ke Pak Ben. Itu aku inget banget. Itu aku sendirian ya karena Viola harus take care Mila kan saat itu. Itu Pak Benyamin bener-bener kayak ngedoain aku. Dan dia suruh aku kayak oke, coba pikirin deh siapa yang harus kamu maafkan di hidup kamu gitu kan. I'm like siapa? Kayaknya gue gak punya masalah sama siapapun gitu. Tapi and then secara randomly aku mikirin muka seseorang gitu misalnya. Tapi akhirnya gak tahu kenapa tiba-tiba mulai nangis. Dan dia itu doainnya dengan bahasa roh lagi. Itu kayak oh my goodness, what kind of cult is this gitu kan. Like, aneh banget gitu kan. Tapi itu pertama kali banget dia ngedoain. Abis itu pakai bahasa Roh Kudus, bla 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 yang kayak gue sendiri juga nggak ngerti itu apaan. Dan setelah itu, setelah nangis-nangis dan lain-lain, padahal itu baru ketemu, malu banget nangis di depan orang. Dan akhirnya setelah keluar dari rumahnya Pak Benyamin, keluar dari situ, aku pikir sembuh dong. Tapi ternyata suaranya masih belum sembuh gitu. Aku ke mobil, pas di mobil, I remember aku cuman kayak ngembus nafas gitu yang, suara masih belum balik juga. My voice is not there yet gitu.
Yeah. But
and then
I remember how you came back home and what you said.
Nah ini nih yang di mobil nih. My mom itu text me and said like, gimana? How was it? Udah didoain kan? Aku bilang iya udah. Suaranya udah balik? Belum. Tapi gak tahu kenapa. Aku tiba-tiba punya this iman ya. Atau kepercayaan gitu ya. Tiba-tiba untuk pertama kalinya seumur hidup aku ngedengerin sebuah suara kecil di hati aku yang bilang, kamu lagi proses penyembuhan kok. Pasti nanti akan sembuh. Tiba-tiba ada suara itu. Itu pertama kalinya banget. Aku ngerasa itu kayak suara Roh Kudus. Atau suara Tuhan sendiri gitu kan. Yang mungkin ngegerakin hati aku. Membisikin aku. Enggak gede ya. Daniel. Enggak ada kayak gitu ya. Cuman bener-bener kayak kepikiran aja gitu di otak. Dan di situ tiba-tiba ada this iman, kepercayaan yang kuat banget. Oke, suara gue bakal balik kok suatu saat. Pasti. Udah kayak gitu.
Yeah.
Dan itu rasanya damai banget. Dan hari ini ketika looking back ya, mikirin momen tersebut. Mungkin secara fisik aku gak sembuh saat itu. Tapi secara spiritual aku sembuh. Itu ada sebuah kesembuhan secara spiritual yang mungkin gara-gara kesembuhan secara spiritual, sedikit demi sedikit secara fisik aku juga ikutan sembuh. Dan Kayaknya momen itu sih yang bikin aku kayak pengen lagi mencari Tuhan lagi untuk memperbaiki hidup aku.
Yeah, that was the turning point, right? I still remember that day when you came home and you had like this incredible peace about you. Like you were so at peace, even though, and I was like, yeah, but your voice is not back yet. Didn't work. The prayer didn't work.
Yeah.
You know? But you were at peace and something had changed. And it was like the beginning of something new, the beginning of you not having your identity only in being a presenter. And I feel like, and of course, yeah, as you can tell, his voice came back, right? It did come back. But I just want to ask you, the audience, whoever's watching, maybe you have something that you put your identity on. Maybe it's being anak yang baik, making your parents proud, or it's your work, or it's something that you always thought like, I have to be like this. And maybe it's something that you're holding on to and you're so afraid if you're not like that, or if you're not a good child, if you're not anak yang baik anymore, if you're not that anymore, or if you do something wrong, or if you're not rich anymore, or if you don't have the right handbag anymore, the right car, then who are you, right? And I just want to tell you from experience and what I've seen in Daniel's life, the moment he got stripped of his identity, the moment he lost his voice, everything that he put all his confidence in his voice. He made money with his voice. He was famous with his voice. That's all he had. And the moment he had thought he lost that, and it was stripped off him at his lowest point, when he realized there's actually more. Like, I felt like you realized I'm not just my voice. I'm not just a presenter.
Yeah.
It was the moment where you got stripped off naked and you realized there's something left.
Yeah.
And my peace is not found in my voice. My peace is not found in my money. My peace is not found in my fame. My peace is not found in being a good girl or a good boy, or my peace is not found in making my parents proud. The moment you realize that, and you realize your peace is found in God, who always takes care of you. Your peace is found in God, who always loves you, no matter how low you are, no matter how much you have achieved, no matter if you're perfect or imperfect, no matter if you can make your parents proud or not. God loves you, and you're so valuable in God's eyes. That's where your peace is. You can throw everything else away, and you can find your peace in knowing that God looks at you and he's so proud of you, and he loves you, and he takes care of you, and he worries about you don't have to worry, because he already has planned everything for you, and he will provide for you. And this is where you find your peace. And I noticed, like, in that moment when everything was stripped off you, Daniel, you started having real peace.
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest moment to find that.
Karena situasinya belum berubah, suara aku belum balik.
Yeah.
Aku masih ngomong seperti ini,
Yeah.
ya kan? Bentar lagi ada Indonesian Idol saat itu, Indonesian Idol season 5 atau season 6 aku lupa, yang bakal ini, tapi suaranya belum balik. Jadi, tapi nggak tahu kenapa ada sebuah kedamaian yang ya dunia ini nggak akan pernah bisa kasih gitu.
Yeah.
Ya kan? And you know what, Viola, ini gue masih belum bisa ceritain full. Akan ada waktunya dimana gue akan ceritain. Tapi maksudnya ada sebuah kesalahan yang sangat besar banget, yang mungkin itu mungkin bisa dibilang kayak dosa yang cukup besar buat gue sendiri di momen tersebut. Di momen tahun 2011, 2012. Dan apakah gue layak menerima sebuah hukuman dari Tuhan? Layak banget. Saat itu sebagai seorang ayah, sebagai seorang suami, itu gue ngerasa itu bisa dibilang kesalahan yang sangat besar buat diri gue. Dan untuk menerima sebuah kesembuhan, itu gue ngerasa gak layak banget. Untuk menerima sebuah mukjizat di posisi seperti itu gue ngerasa gak layak sama sekali gitu. Jadi cintanya Tuhan itu benar-benar konsisten banget, dan karena dia itu cinta, ya dia memberikan mukjizat tersebut. Bukan karena performance-nya gue. Padahal gue saat itu lagi berdosa-dosanya. Gue saat itu lagi benar-benar hancur-hancurnya. Punya anak tapi malah clubbing keluar. Istri baru hamil, baru melahirkan, tapi gue tinggalin di rumah. Jadi maksudnya gue gak layak sama sekali untuk menerima mukjizat itu gitu. Tapi emang karena Tuhan itu cinta, emang dasarnya cinta. Jadi dia memberikan gue rasa cinta tersebut, rasa sayang tersebut, dan mukjizat tersebut. Bukan karena performance gue. Bukan karena oh Daniel rajin berdoa nih, ya udah kalau gitu layak nih dapat mukjizat. Enggak, gue gak layak banget. Makanya hari ini gue percaya banget bahwa suara gue itu udah mati saat itu. Suara gue udah mati dan dibangkitkan lagi sama Tuhan. Jadi ketika suara gue balik lagi, gue doa sama Tuhan. Gue bilang, Tuhan, mulai sekarang aku akan mendedikasikan suara aku untuk kemuliaan Engkau ya Tuhan. That's my prayer. Like bukan cuma suara aja actually, my whole being. Karena ya Daniel yang lama itu udah mati. Identitas Daniel sebagai presenter terkenal itu udah mati. Pada akhirnya gue menemukan siapa sih identitas gue sebenarnya. Dari seorang presenter terkenal yang benar-benar berusaha banget untuk ngelakuin semuanya dan insecure banget, takut terus. Isinya takut kapan gue digantiin, kapan gue akan jadi insignifikan, kapan gue jadi gak penting lagi, kapan gue gak laku. Itu identitas yang lama, itu udah dimatiin banget. Sampai akhirnya sekarang gue mempunyai identitas baru. Yaitu anak yang disayang banget sama Tuhan. Ciptaan dia yang paling luar biasa yang diciptakan sama Tuhan. Itu adalah identitas gue yang baru gitu. Sekarang ini gue hidup, kalau misalnya hidup tanpa rasa takut, itu kayak gak mungkin. Ya kan? Karena kita manusia ini pasti ada rasa takutnya. Dan kadang-kadang rasa takut itu pun juga sebenarnya bagus gitu untuk motivasi kita untuk melakukan sesuatu yang lebih baik lagi gitu. Dan kita progress. Tapi kalau misalnya rasa takutnya itu kebanyakan dan kita itu jadi paralyzed dan jadi paranoid, ya itu gak sehat. Nah sekarang ini gue masih punya rasa takut. Tapi maybe I'm not fearless, but I fear less. Gue udah gak seketakutan seperti dulu lagi gitu. Dan setiap kali gue ada rasa khawatir, setiap kali gue takut, setiap kali gue mikirin karir gue pasti menyerahkan ketakutan tersebut ke kaki Tuhan. Karena ya udah benar-benar berserah aja. Nanti Tuhan mau jadiin aku seperti apa. Aku tahu banget kalau misalnya Tuhan akan pasti memberikan yang terbaik banget. Jadi 5 tahun yang lalu, berarti ketika gue umur 35 tahun atau 36, ulang tahun gue yang ke 35 ya. Viola kasih gue surprise. Gue lagi kerja saat itu di ulang tahun gue di RCTI, dan Viola sama teman-teman kita, komunitas kita itu pada datang kasih surprise gitu. Itu acara lagi sama Deddy Kobusier. Deddy ini ada apa nih kok rame-rame. Dan abis itu lucunya sebelum ulang tahun tersebut, gue lagi dengerin sebuah musik ya, judulnya Oh Praise the Name dari Hillsong. Dan di situ ada satu lirik gitu. Liriknya Messiah still and all alone. Jadi itu momen dimana Yesus udah mati di kayu salib, dan habis itu Yesus dikubur, dan pas dia dikubur di Joseph's Tomb ya, dia dikubur di situ, dan di situ liriknya Messiah still and all alone. Sang Mesias hening dan sendirian di situ, di ditutup dengan batu soalnya kan, batu yang sangat besar. Habis itu tiba-tiba gue mikir gitu, ada satu momen dong harusnya kalau misalnya Yesus bangkit lagi dari kematian, pasti ada satu momen ketika dia kebangun. Ketika dia kebuka matanya dan bangun dalam keheningan, dalam kegelapan. Dan habis itu mungkin dia duduk gitu ya, gue juga gak tahu deh, mungkin dia duduk gitu, nungguin kapan malaikat bakal ngegelindingin si batu tersebut untuk dia bangkit kembali gitu kan. Dan gue nanya gitu, gue doa sama Tuhan gitu, gue bilang, Yesus, ketika Yesus buka mata dan habis itu duduk hening sejenak, Yesus mikirin apa sih? Just penasaran aja gitu, kira-kira dia mikirin apa ya? Dan tiba-tiba di hati gue, suara yang sama yang gue denger itu, Yesus bilang, aku mikirin kamu Daniel. Aku mikirin kamu karena aku udah berhasil mendapatkan jiwa kamu lagi, Neil. Itu kayak, itu Yesus yang romantis banget sama aku. Yesus yang personal banget gitu. Jadi ketika dia mati di kayu salib, dan dia bilang, it is finished, udah selesai. Aku ngebayanginnya kayak dia bilang itu dengan senyum gitu. Dia bilang dengan senyum, it is finished. Karena gue udah berhasil memenangkan jiwa Daniel. You know, dan ketika dia di kuburan itu, ketika dia bangun lagi dan bangkit lagi, dia senyum karena dia ngerasa, ya Daniel udah gue berhasil menangin kok jiwanya. Sekarang dia udah milik gue. Udah bukan lagi milik dunia, udah bukan lagi milik setan gitu. Jadi kayak, it's, you know, ya dia benar-benar selama dia dicambuk, selama dia disiksa, selama dia diludahin, selama dia ditelanjangin, selama dia dipaku di kayu salib, dia mikirin gue, dia mikirin Daniel gitu. Semua yang gue laluin ini semuanya worth it. Semuanya gak apa-apa. Yang penting gue bisa nyelamatin nyawanya Daniel. Yang penting gue bisa nyelamatin jiwanya Daniel. Dan itu yang benar-benar kayak, wow. Dia mau menderita seperti itu untuk nyelamatin Daniel satu. It's all worth it. Nah, dan itulah nilai gue, nilai harga aku gitu. Daniel Mananta nge-MC berapa juta gitu misalnya ya, atau harganya berapa. Tapi gak sebanding sama nilai nyawa Daniel yang harus dibayar sama hidupnya Yesus. Ya, hidup seseorang, nyawa seseorang gitu. So I think, gak tau, ini kalau misalnya kalian nonton ini dan gue ngerasa ini bukan kebetulan gitu, karena lu sekarang ini, siapa yang pernah memberikan nyawanya untuk lu gitu. Ya, cuman Yesus gitu. Dia mati di kayu salib untuk dunia ini, untuk lu dan gue gitu. Bukannya ya gue udah apa ya, udah take it for granted, udah jaded, udah biasa banget dengar, oh ya Yesus mencintai kamu, Yesus mencintai dunia, Yesus mencintai, udah biasa banget dengerin itu. Cuman ketika itu menjadi sesuatu hal yang sangat personal banget di diri kalian gitu ya, yang harusnya gue gak layak, orang sekotor gue, orang seberdosa gue, itu gak layak untuk dikasih mukjizat, gak layak untuk dikasih cinta seperti itu gitu. Gak layak banget. Tapi akhirnya gue sekarang bisa ada di sini sekarang, bisa mencintai Viola, bisa mencintai anak-anak gue, karena Yesus mencintai gue duluan dengan mati di kayu salib gitu kan. Jadi kayak itu sih yang I think that itu yang benar-benar ngerubah diri aku, mentransformasi ya diri aku sampai hari ini gitu. So ya, kayak bintang tamu yang lain nih sok-sok nangis juga. Jadi.
I'm speechless. Yeah, and it's incredible, like what God's love can do in you and how it has transformed you and how it has given you value. And I feel like that was your thing. Like ever since you were small, you thought you're always not good enough. And you're always compared.
Yeah.
And someone else was always better. The neighbor's child, the cousin, the brother, they were always better.
Yeah.
So you were never good enough. And I feel like in that moment when you became aware of how much God loves you and values you, you realized you've always been good enough.
Yeah.
You've always been good enough the way you were made and created, and not everyone has to be the same, and not everyone's made for the same. And anyway, you're good enough.
Yeah.
You're more than good enough the way you are exactly right now. And even with all the mistakes, all the kekurangan that you have, with all the things that are lacking, that you think that are lacking, or and all the failures you've gone through. And God looks at you and he's like, no, you're enough.
Yeah.
You are just right. And you are just right for me to love you anyway.
Yeah.
And
You know,
it has such a transformational power.
ya, setelah mengetahui harga diri aku sesungguhnya, ya kan? Kalau misalnya gue nanya lu sekarang itu, kira-kira ngomongin harga diri, ada harganya, harga diri lu itu berapa duit sih? Right? Sekarang nih gue dengan sangat confident bisa bilang, harga diri gue adalah sebuah nyawa. Dan itu benar-benar gak bisa dibeli sama berapapun harga atau berapapun uang di dunia ini gitu. Harga diri gue adalah sebuah nyawa yang harus dikorbankan untuk gue. Jadi setelah mengetahui kalau ternyata gue ini berharga banget di mata Tuhan. Ya kan. Dimana mungkin di sekitar gue itu mereka gak terlalu memberikan penghargaan seperti itu gitu. Like Viola bilang, nyokap gue emang dari kecil tuh suka banget membandingkan gue dengan tetangga gue, dengan anak tetangga, dengan saudara sepupu gue, dengan adik gue sendiri. Adik gue jago banget golf, dia professional golfer. Jadi gue setiap kali main golf itu kayak dibandingin sama adik gue sendiri, sehingga akhirnya ya udah gue nggak akan pernah nyentuh stick golf lagi dan gue nggak mau main golf sampai segitunya. Tetangga gue punya anaknya ranking 1. Gue datang dari sekolah, gue ngasih lihat nyokap gue, ini gue ranking 4. Kok gak bisa ranking 1 sih kayak tetangga kita itu, namanya Kathy. Gue inget banget.
How random.
Sampai hari ini. Jadi akhirnya itu yang membuat gue ngerasa tidak berharga. Karena anak tetangga lebih berharga daripada gue. Adik gue lebih berharga daripada gue. Saudara sepupu gue lebih berharga. Anaknya temen nyokap gue lebih berharga daripada gue. I'm never enough. I was never enough gitu. Sampai akhirnya gue inget banget. Dulu pas udah jadi VJ di MTV. Gue udah punya duit sendiri. Nyokap gue tuh masih suka tuh nanyain gaji gue berapa. Kenapa dia suka nanyain gaji gue berapa? Karena dia pengen ngebandingin juga. Gaji temennya dia, temennya dia punya anak yang kerja di bank mana, gajinya berapa. Dia pengen tahu supaya ya dia pengen anaknya lebih hebat daripada anak teman-temannya misalnya kayak gitu. Gue gak tahu mungkin ini budaya Asia banget lah, atau ini mungkin budaya sesuatu yang comparing. Gue gak tahu ya, mungkin ini relate ke lu atau enggak gitu. Tapi itu di budaya nyokap gue itu lumayan penting gitu kayaknya.
Yeah, little disclaimer, yeah?
Yeah.
Daniel's mom is a wonderful, wonderful woman.
Yes.
And a great mother.
Yes.
And I actually am really amazed at how well you love your mother.
And how my mother loves me.
Yes.
Maksudnya sampai hari ini, I think gue bisa ada di sini sekarang dengan kedisiplinan gue, dengan semua fokus gue dan lain-lain, itu semuanya karena nyokap gue gitu.
Yes.
Dan doa nyokap gue juga. Nyokap gue itu tiap hari ke gereja, dan pastinya bisa membuat doa ibu kan. Maksudnya benar-benar membuat gue sangat ini banget gitu.
Yeah, and she, with everything that she raised you, and even with the comparison, she means well. So it's not like she does that out of a bad place in her heart. She means well, and that's the way she's been brought up, and she doesn't know better. And I think everyone should know that. Like, we're not here to make anyone's mom down, and maybe your mom is like that too, and you are right in loving your mom and not liking certain things about her, and that's okay. But we're not here to make any mom look bad, and
Yeah.
that's not the point. And Daniel's mom is
That's
really,
wonderful.
really wonderful.
So, gue inget banget satu momen di mana gue udah jadi VJ dan habis itu Indonesian Idol season pertama baru kelar. Pemenangnya adalah Joy dan Delon. Tapi sayangnya ada masalah lah ya, kontroversi tentang Joy di season 1 tersebut. Sehingga akhirnya nama Delon tuh benar-benar besar banget gitu kan. Dan itu billboard Delon tuh di mana-mana. Ya kan, billboardnya Delon di mana-mana. Kita ngelihat itu iklannya si Delon di mana-mana dan lain-lain gitu. Karena wow, lagi besar banget. Dan di situ nyokap gue nanya gitu. Gue inget gue lagi nyetir, bokap gue di sini, nyokap di belakang. Dan kamu kan selebriti juga, tapi kenapa iklannya gak sebanyak Delon ya? Kayak gitu. Kenapa billboardnya itu Delon semua? Padahal kamu juga sama-sama Chinese kan, jadi harusnya bisa lah. Ya, oke. Itu gue stop, gue minggirin mobil bentar. Atau mungkin karena lampu merah juga gitu, gue gak tahu. Tapi yang pasti kita stop. Disitulah mungkin kalau Viola nih bilangnya adulting 101. Disitulah menjadi dari seorang anak laki-laki menjadi seorang laki-laki. Karena disitu dengan hormat ya, gue ngomong sama nyokap gue, sorry banget tapi udah ya, cukup ya sampai sini aja ya. Membanding-bandingin Denny sama orang-orang. Dan nyokap gue bener, nyokap langsung bilang, tapi kan motivasi mami di sini ingin membuat Denny lebih nge-push lagi, supaya Denny bisa lebih baik lagi. Makanya jadi agak di-push sedikit dengan membandingkan orang tersebut. Gak ada niat untuk menjatuhkan Denny kok. Tapi, and then gue bilang ke nyokap gue, well, ngerti sih maksud mami baik. Tapi perasaan yang Denny dapetin itu malah membuat Denny ngerasa kecil, ngerasa tidak cukup terus, ngerasa orang lain itu sukses, tapi Denny sebagai loser, sebagai orang gagal terus. Karena orang lain pasti lebih baik daripada Denny. Aku bilang kayak gitu. So please, thank you banget. Selama ini udah motivasinya membuat lebih maju, tapi udah cukup sampai sini aja. Udah sih, you know what? Sampai hari ini masih ada sekali-sekali nyokap masih ngebandingin gitu ya, mama masih ngebandingin. Tapi it's not as much. Dia gak ngereflek lagi. Dan akhirnya dia sekarang ini udah stop banget sih ngebandingin. Which I'm grateful. Tapi ya perlu sih komunikasi seperti itu. Perlu pembicaraan seperti itu. Dimana aku harus ngomong ke mama, ke mami gitu ya, supaya dia ngerti juga, dan tapi ngomongnya juga dengan hormat gitu, nggak merendahkan. Kita kasih taunya benar-benar this is what I feel, yang mungkin dia nggak pernah tahu how we feel ketika dia ngelakuin hal tersebut sama kita gitu.
Because feelings is not something that you were taught how to talk about anyway, right?
Betul. Dan setelah nyokap gue nggak bisa banding-bandingin gue, dia mulailah banding-bandingin anak kita. Jadi misalnya si Mila gitu ya, Mila itu dibilang kayak, Mila, wah si itu udah bisa jalan, kok kamu belum bisa jalan, misalnya kayak gitu waktu bayi kan. Ini kok anaknya si itu udah bisa jalan dia, kok ini Mila masih ngerangkak gitu kan. Sampai akhirnya kayak Mila udah gede, udah mulai ngerti gitu ya. Mulai tuh, lihat tuh anak meja sebelah makannya bagus, kamu kok makan dikit banget kayak gitu kan. Udah mulai tuh si Viola dong ngajarin Mila, oke, next time kalau Oma Ana ngomong seperti itu, Mila ngomong ke Oma gitu kan. Oma, kok Oma ngebanding-bandingin Mila terus sih? Oma yang di Jerman gak pernah ngebanding-bandingin Mila. Jadi sekarang si Mila disuruh ngebandingin omanya sendiri gitu. Like taste your own medicine, Oma.
No, but I told her that, so maybe Oma Ana will realize how ridiculous it is to compare, right?
Yeah. Bukan untuk nyerang
as
sih.
if you can
It's a joke
compare
lah.
Omas, right? Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah.
It's a joke lah.
But I admire that about you, and I've seen you grow over the years and how you would be your own person and you would stand up to your parents and actually tell them, no, I want to do it my way. I'm an adult. This is how I raise my kids.
Yeah.
I honor that, and I am thankful that you have the well-being and of my children in mind, but this is not how I want to raise them up, and therefore we're not going to do that, and things like that. And I have seen how you have become your own person, and you are not just blindly following everything your parents say, but you do it in such a loving way that I feel like the love between the family has actually grown.
Yeah.
So you have actually managed to bring more harmony to the family and more peace by actually speaking up about the things that were not right in an honoring and loving way, and by not following blindly everything that your family dictated, because it was you knew it was not right. And I think it's something that we probably all have to learn at some point. If we haven't done it in teenage years, our rebellious phase, then maybe it's something we have to learn once we have kids, that or once we're older and we feel like, wow, I feel like I'm not living my own life. I feel like I'm living my parents' life. And you wake up and you just feel so depressed, like every day, because you just feel like you're not yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it's that moment when you realize I cannot go on like this because it's not right. I'm not myself, right? And it's okay. It's okay to be your own person. It's okay to make your own decisions that you think are right. And it's okay to step out and become yourself. And you can do that in a loving way that honors your parents. And it might not be comfortable for them, but nobody said you have to make your parents comfortable, right? God doesn't say, make sure your parents are happy all the time. I don't read that in any scripture. Where does it say?
Honor your parents.
Honor your parents
yeah.
doesn't mean do everything your parents say. And it doesn't say you have to make sure that they're happy every minute of their life.
Atau their happiness, kebahagiaan mereka, itu tanggung jawab lo.
Yeah, but that's not God's God is who they should lean on
Exactly.
to. They shouldn't
Tuhan
lean on to you.
Harusnya kebahagiaan mereka adalah tanggung jawabnya Tuhan.
Yeah, and so you can pray for your parents that they find that happiness in God and they find they find it in God. But it's not something that any child should carry on their own shoulders. But I think it's a cultural thing that has become like that. But it's not necessarily a good thing, because it takes the responsibility from God and it puts it on you. And who can carry the responsibility that God should carry, right?
Wow.
And I'm so blessed as a wife to have a husband like you, who loves and honors his parents well, but is still his own person. And you actually honor me by making sure that you're the leader of this family. And it's how it's supposed to be. You're the leader of this family, of my children, of our children, and of me. You're my leader.
And not my parents.
It's not your parents who are my leaders, but I love them and I honor them. But I want you to be the leader, because that would be right. And I really respect how you've really grown and how you've taken that role, and you've taken it even though it was so uncomfortable, telling your parents, no, we're going to do it a different way than you, mom and dad. And it was like there was friction and tension, but now we're at a point where it's harmonious and loving, and it's a real harmony, and it's a real peace, and it's a real love. And you can love your parents not out of obligation because you have to love them, but you love your parents because you love them, because they feel the love towards them, and you want to love them because they're not suppressing you.
Wah, so good.
Your parents don't suppress you and keep you in a cage anymore,
Atau giving guilt feeling gitu.
Yeah,
untuk,
no. Like, if you don't do this, you don't love me. If you don't follow what I say, you don't love me. That's something that we can hear from our parents sometimes, but now we actually, in our family and with your parents, we have the kind of love where it's not about, if you do this, what I say to you, then you love me. But it's like, I can see by the way you serve this family that you love the family.
Yeah.
I can even see how you address conflict in the family that nobody else wants to address. You address it because you see it's hindering the love flowing in the family, and you address the negative things in the family in such a loving and honoring way that now we've come to a point where, wow, they can really see you love the family
Yeah.
because you were the one sacrificing your comfort and your peace for a certain time to address things that nobody wanted to address. And it was ugly for a moment. And now we have real harmony.
Dan itu sih, I think Viola, you taught me. Viola yang ngajarin, apa ya, kadang-kadang Viola suka ngasih perspektif juga, dimana ini nih sesuatu yang gak normal, ini sesuatu yang dysfunction, dan harus diaddress. Karena bagi aku sendiri kadang-kadang aku gak bisa ngelihat, it's a blind spot. Dan bagi aku juga kadang-kadang, aduh, let's just not address it. Udahlah, jangan diomongin lah, jangan dibicarain lah. Tapi itu malah jadi sebuah borok. Dan malah mungkin bisa menjadi sebuah tumor di dalam keluarga tersebut gitu. Jadinya makin dysfunction, dan gak ada yang bahagia, tapi kita kelihatannya harmonis. Jadi, I'm so grateful Viola. Like, sekarang ini, yang tadi Viola bilang tuh bener banget. Sekarang, when I do things to with my parents atau to my parents gitu ya, dimana kita suka makan malam sama mereka, kita suka spend time sama mereka, kita berusaha banget untuk liburan bareng sama mereka, itu bukan karena kewajiban, itu bukan karena rasa bersalah, tapi itu benar-benar karena cinta, didasarkan cinta, dan kita benar-benar sukacita banget ketika spend time sama mereka gitu.
Yeah.
Kita ke Bali bareng, kita nanti mau ke Thailand bareng, kita mau ngelakuin apa-apa bareng sama mereka karena kita emang sayang banget sama mereka. Bukan karena sekedar sebagai keluarga harmonis kan kita harusnya liburan bareng ya. Yuk checklist. You know what I mean? Like sebagai keluarga harmonis kita harusnya makan malam bareng. Tapi ketika kita makan malam semuanya pada di handphone. You know, gak ada yang ngobrol satupun.
Yeah.
Itu cuman karena sekedar, dan habis itu setelah selesai makan malam, yuk foto. Taruh di post sosial media. Wah, awesome family gathering. Tapi
there's no connection.
gak ada koneksi.
No bonding.
Ya, tidak ada menyuburkan kekeluargaan tersebut gitu. Semuanya benar-benar cuma fokus sama handphone aja. Bokap ngecek Facebook, nyokap ngecek grup arisan WA-nya, gue ngecek kerjaan, Viola ngecek gosip sama temen-temennya, anak-anak nonton YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, ya cuman sekedar makan bareng aja gitu. Jadi itu ada satu momen Viola bilang, ya kalau misalnya kalau kayak gitu ngapain harus ngumpul? Capek banget dong. Datang jauh-jauh, gue tinggal di Kemang, nyokap tinggal di daerah Pluit, habis itu kita makan di mana, kayaknya effortnya gede banget. Ngapain? Kan itu bisa kalau misalnya sendiri-sendiri kayak gitu. Gue bilang, well kan kita pengen makan enak. Ya makan enak mah tinggal ojek online aja. Ojek online aja. Actually the reason kenapa kita ngumpul untuk menumbuhkan atau mengembangkan our hubungan, our relationship gitu, supaya makin erat lagi gitu. Tapi kalau misalnya kita cuman saling ngecek handphone masing-masing, ya itu hubungannya nggak ada yang terhubung gitu, nggak ada hubungannya di situ. Nggak ada yang grow.
But sometimes we do that because you have to meet with a family, but actually you have bitterness towards that person in the family, and you know this one compares you with this person in the family, and it's actually quite toxic in the family. So the only way to endure those family meetings is to disappear in your own world, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like if we have addressed dysfunctions, if we speak up about things that are not right, if we do that in a loving way, we can actually achieve real connection with our family members. We want real connection with our aunt or cousins, our mother-in-laws, you know, like you want to have a real connection where you don't have any bitterness in between. And that only works if you address the things that are not
The hard
really-
stuff.
The hard stuff. And otherwise, why would you want to meet as a family if all you feel is bitterness, toxicity, and pressure? You know, so I think it's amazing how you've worked, you know, on the issues in your family and how you're stood up. And I can see like you feel totally comfortable hanging out with your family now.
Because bener kata Viola. Ini comfortable banget. Bahkan beberapa hari yang lalu gue, bokap gue sama adik gue kita bertiga boys night out dong. Yeah. And we enjoy the night, kita ketawa, gue ketawa ngakak sampai nangis karena mendadak bokap gue ngomong Thailand sama chefnya gitu ya. Itu benar-benar kayak, aduh, we had such a good night. Chefnya sendiri sampai bilang kayak, gila ya, gue kayaknya nggak pernah deh boys night out sama bokap gue sendiri, you know. Dan benar-benar bisa ngobrol sama bokap gue sampai sedekat ini, kayak kalian ngobrol sama bokap kalian. It's so intimate gitu. Dan gue udah gak sabar untuk spend time lagi sama bokap gue. Bukan karena gue ngerasa wajib. Bukan karena gue pengen melarikan diri dari sesuatu gitu. Misalnya gue curhat soal rumah tangga gue gak enak gitu. Bukan karena gue bokap gue mendadak telepon, kapan nih kok kamu udah gak pernah cari gue lagi sih atau apa gitu. Enggak gitu. Bener-bener karena gue I sincerely pengen spend time sama bokap gue. Atau bahkan bukan karena ketakutan, nanti suatu saat bokap gue gak ada lagi, nanti gue gak bisa spend time lagi. Bukan karena takut juga. Emang bener-bener karena rasa cinta dan sayang yang gue pengen spend time sama dia because I love him. Dan gue pengen spend time sama nyokap gue because I love her. Gue sering banget ngajak, Meh lagi ngapain? Makan siang yuk bareng, ngobrol aja gitu. Yang gak ada juntrungannya, gak ada tujuan, gak ada maunya, cuman untuk spend time bareng gitu.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful feeling kalau misalnya emang kita ngelakuin itu didasarkan dari rasa cinta dan sayang.
Yeah.
Dan tadi Viola sempat bilang sih, emang ada hal-hal yang harus gue konfrontasikan ke bokap nyokap misalnya. Ada satu hal yang menurut gue misalnya kayak Viola bilang, ini kayaknya gak sehat deh. Dan kita ngomongin ya, ini kayaknya gak sehat buat bokap nyokap. Tapi mereka gak tahu. Aduh, you know, akhirnya gue address hal tersebut. Yang menurut gue mungkin lebih baik gak ngelakuin ini misalnya seperti itu. Atau lebih baik ngelakuin ini justru. Nah, ketika ngedress seperti itu, jujur addressing sesuatu yang gak nyaman itu gak nyaman. Oke, gak enak gitu ya. Tapi gue tahu ini untuk kebaikan kita semua. Tapi gue berani ngelakuin hal tersebut karena gue secure banget di rumah sama Viola. Ketika gue keluar rumah, apapun yang gue lakuin di luar rumah, dan gue kadang-kadang take risk, ngambil resiko yang lebih jauh lagi, gue tahu ketika gue pulang ke rumah, gue akan diterima dengan rasa cinta, rasa sayang, tidak dihakimi oleh Viola. Sehingga perasaan itu selalu mengisi gue, membuat gue secure lagi di rumah. Dan besoknya ketika gue keluar rumah, gue berani lagi mengambil resiko lagi. Karena gue tahu keluarga penting yang inti itu adalah Viola, Mila sama Noam. Dan pastinya rasa acceptance dari Tuhan juga. Sehingga gue makin lama makin berani untuk make mistakes di luar.
In business.
In business misalnya ya. Atau di karir misalnya. Cabut dari Indonesian Idol. If it's a mistake gitu kan. Tapi intinya gue tahu apapun decision atau keputusan yang udah kita obrolin bersama-sama. Dan mungkin itu sifatnya beresiko yang sangat tinggi. Gue tahu Viola akan menerima gue apa adanya. You know, even with my own parents misalnya seperti itu. Karena keluarga gue yang sesungguhnya, keluarga gue yang saat ini benar-benar dipercayakan banget sama Tuhan adalah Viola dan anak-anak. Kayak gitu sih.
Thank you for sharing your story on Daniel Tetangga Kamu. I mean, I know there's so much more to your story and there'll be so much more to tell. But I think that was really valuable what we heard about you and your journey with God. And you have changed so much over the years. And it's a blessing to be a wife now. It was hard in the beginning, but I think it was also hard being with me. But
it's definitely a blessing and a gift to be your husband. Your heart, it's so big that there's so many things. I am like the most imperfect husband. That's how I feel about myself. And it is such a blessing. Tuhan mempercayakan aku ke Viola. And you know, dan Viola ke aku gitu. You are such an amazing blessing from God.
Thank you.
Gila, every time I talk about you, I think I'm gonna cry.
Well, it's not about me today.
Ya.
But
Terima kasih
yeah,
sudah diinterview
I-
di Daniel suami kamu.
So yeah. I just feel like our journeys were so aligned and are still so aligned. We both were so broken when we got married and we got to know each other and we didn't even know it. And it's beautiful to see how God has both raised us and grown us at the same time and just pulled us closer to Him at the same time. And it's been like almost 11 years. Yeah, 11 years since we engaged, actually. And
wow.
I'm grateful to see your journey. And I hope that seeing a bit into Daniel's journey today also enriched your life and maybe you can find yourself in it. And I hope it gives you hope that also you can grow out of who you are today and also you are valuable and also you can be loved and lovable even with your mistakes and the things that you've done. And also you can honor your parents and address a few issues at the same time and you can make your own decisions. And I have seen that in Daniel's life and I'm sure you can have that in your life too because you have the same God to hold on to and the same God who loves you and the same God who wants to see you flourish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
And am I supposed to do the like and subscribe thing?
No
No?
need like tapi bener Tuhan yang sudah menunjukkan cintanya ke gue dan mentransformasi gue sampai hari ini itu adalah Tuhan yang sama yang bisa mentransformasi hidup lu juga dan Tuhan yang sama yang akan terus memberikan cintanya ke lu. Yang perlu lu lakuin adalah memutuskan untuk mengikuti jalan Tuhan. Gitu aja sih. Memutuskan kapan akhirnya lu tidak menggunakan kekuatan lu sendiri, tapi mulai menggunakan kekuatan Tuhan. Dan juga arahan dari Tuhan. Jujur, by the way ya, ini gue suka banget. Ini kedua kalinya kita kayak ngobrol kayak gini. We're sharing this couch together gitu ya. Just to, right? Oh, sarangi ya. kayak setiap Valentine itu, I think we should just like, tiap tahun kita coba ngobrol with our journey, how is it and everything. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, that's a good
I think
idea.
it'll be good. Anyway, guys, again, lu sebagai tetangga yang gue sayangin dan gue cintain ini pertama kali banget. Lu bisa ngelihat Mila, lu bisa ngelihat Noam, cara kita berinteraksi sama Viola juga. Dan mudah-mudahan ya ini sesuatu lah buat kalian. Again, gue berharap ada nilai-nilai yang bisa kalian dapatkan dari sini. Dan thank you, kita akan ketemu lagi minggu depan dengan bintang tamu atau tetangga yang berbeda yang pasti bukan gue. Ya, karena tetangga saling menyangga bukan menyanggah. Sampai ketemu lagi. Bye.